All right, so we're live. Let's start this thing. Thank you for listening to another episode of Shave Heads, Not Points. If you could, just hit that subscribe button if you're listening on iTunes, or follow if you're listening on Spotify. Also, head over to our Facebook page at Shave Heads, Not Points Podcast. Head over to our Twitter at Shave Heads Pod and our Instagram at Shave Heads Podcast. Give us a follow. Give us a like on our Facebook.
This guy is all about shaving heads and not points. It's the Shave Heads, Not Points podcast with your host, PJ Davis.
I realized that intro was way too long about following people. I was like, no, I'm not going to sit here and listen to that for 55 seconds. So we got Lee Coleman, one of my friends for a long, long time. We played T-ball together when we were 5-6 years old over there. I think we were the Yellow Jackets, but we had orange jerseys. Is that right? Boys and Girls Club. So Lee, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me there.
Yeah, we so like I said, we grew up together. Always played against each other or on the same team, whether it was baseball or basketball. I don't think we ever played on the same football team.
Never played on the same football because I was always with the White Sulphur and you guys were Gainesville. It was always separated.
That's right. So always played against each other in football. And then later on in high school and stuff, played against each other in high school. So Lee is the head football coach at Georgia Military College Prep School down there in Milledgeville. It's like a military prep school. It's a high school military prep school. It's not Georgia Military Academy, the junior college. It's not the same thing, but he has worked at both. So you grew up in Gainesville. I'm going to shut up and let you tell us your bio.
As you stated, grew up in Gainesville. We played some ball together, T-ball, a little basketball at the Boys and Girls Club. Never played football because obviously the football programs were different. Either you played in City Park League, which was all Gainesville guys that played for City Park, and your elementary schools had their own football team. So I was part of the county school system. Went and played at East Hall. My dad, actually, it's funny. My dad was a Gainesville guy. He always wanted me to go to Gainesville, but mom was an East Hall woman, and she never wanted me to go to Gainesville. Had a lot of friends at Gainesville because of the Boys Club, the Boys and Girls Club. I was one of the only people in my class, actually, from East Hall to attend the Boys and Girls Club. So I knew so many people at Gainesville. Nobody else in my class ever went to the Boys and Girls Club and just participated. And so that's why I knew all you guys, like playing in the City League and baseball and those things. But in high school, it's funny how everybody asked my story because I remember going off to college. When I come back, people's like, how's basketball? How's basketball? How's basketball? When I'm like, I actually play football.
Yeah. Especially knew you because of all the state championships y'all won in basketball with Coach Vining and Coach Dix.
And that was the biggest thing, is because it's one of those things. Growing up, it was always, I want to play East Hall basketball. Mm-hmm. Everybody wanted to play basketball for East Hall because you had Seth Vining, who's legendary, won 4 state championships. It won 2 with girls, 2 with guys. And I was one of those guys that was fortunate enough to be on those teams. I mean, in high school, my record, I always talk to my older guys like Brody, Keldrick, Javon, and all that. Talk trash because at one point they had the highest record. They were like 117-9. That's their high school record. And so I always laugh about it because I'm like, well, Frank Davis and we actually have the winningest record in East Hall history. Out of all those great teams, Frank and our record is 120-8. Nice. And so I tell kids, I'm like, I only lost 8 high school games in basketball. That's it. And we were fortunate enough, Frank and we definitely with the 3 state championships in a row. Brody and those guys did too, sophomore, junior, senior year. Mine was freshman, sophomore, junior year. Went to the Final Four 4 years. So basketball was life. We won 2 of them. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, to make that change and transition to go to football, it's funny. I tell kids, I didn't even play football my freshman year.
I didn't know that.
Yep, my freshman year we had Pellegrino was his last year, and I didn't do anything in the summer because I played travel baseball. I played in the city league. We made the All-Stars, and so football season was going on. Well, baseball was still going on because I was an avid baseball player at the time, and I never went to anything summer workout wise because I was like, I'm still in 8th grade. But it was funny. I say that I still went to basketball camps and stuff because it's Seth Vining. Like I'm gonna go to.
Yeah.
And so I was told, if you come out for football, you're only gonna play JV. You can't do this. You can't do that. And so I was just like, well, that's okay. I'll just not play this year. I'm gonna play basketball anyway. And we won state my freshman year in basketball, so it was like I was perfect. But I went to the football games and it hurt me. It hurt me to the core that I didn't play football. I was so upset. I was like, oh, I got to play football. I have to play next year. I don't care what happens. And that's when we got a new coach in Tim Marchman. And I actually went out for spring ball and ended up winning the job there because the year before the starting quarterback was one of my really good friends in Jamie Evans, RP to him. But he's still one of the best football players I've ever played with. But I knew when I was going out for the quarterback position that at that time, I was going to take the quarterback spot open because I knew Jamie didn't want it. We played together in Little League, and I was the quarterback. He was the running back. He used to tell me, man, come get this job for me. This ain't me. It's not what I do. And so that's how my football career transpired going into my sophomore year.
Yep.
And so then my senior year, by the time my senior year it was debating on what I wanted to do. Did I want to go play basketball or did I want to go play football? And I think with my height, being a 5'10" and a half guy, I was really good in basketball. I thought I was pretty good. I was real good teams, and I had some people around me. But I was like, at 18 years old, I think I can go to the league playing football.
Yeah.
That's most kids' dreams. I'm going to the league. I don't care what sports, but at 5'10", it's like I can't be no quarterback. Nowadays, you could be a quarterback. But in 2006, it wasn't too many 5'10" and a half, 5'11" quarterbacks that they were looking at.
Right.
And so that was one of my decisions. I was like, I can go play football and I can always play pickup basketball.
Yeah.
Whereas if I go play basketball, I can't play pickup football.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know did you see what Dion said the other day?
The work ethic.
Yeah.
And the difference in the kids. And I tell my kids to this day, social media is terrible. I was fortunate that I didn't have social media because it was when it was summertime, there was not getting on social media trying to get likes. It was, I'm at the boys club working. I'm in the yard in the streets playing. We're playing pickup games. We're just getting better, and we love the game. Yeah, there was a big love for the game. Like I thoroughly enjoy playing every sport. I remember it was times my sophomore year in high school, they asked me, "What's your favorite sport?" And I told them I don't know. I started in every sport. I started football, basketball, and baseball. We were AAA, and I was like, I don't know. I love them all. Like I really enjoy all these sports, and for me, it was just because growing up, we played everything. All the neighborhood kids, we played baseball in the streets. We played football in the streets. We played basketball in the 2 yards. Yeah. Because the fun fact, my next door neighbor was Tasha Humphrey.
Oh, no.
That was my next door neighbor growing up. And we would go up at East Hall, and then she left and went to Gainesville. Kind of hurt my feelings because it was like, how you go to Gainesville? Yeah. But, man, she was terrific. And that's how my game developed in basketball and the competitive spirit because she had it. But nowadays, like Dion said, these kids don't love it. They doing it for shows. And like it. They just like the game. We were lucky enough that we still had flip phones and stuff. Yeah. So internet was like, you better not get on the internet or you're going to charge my phone bill $45 and I'm going to whip your ass with a belt. And so we're not getting on the internet. Yeah. So I was like, nope, I ain't touching that little globe thing. I'm not touching that little globe icon. Give me just a second. Hold on.
My wife calling me. I think everything's okay. Well, we'll find out here shortly. So you go to Northwestern to play quarterback, right?
I actually went to go play receiver.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
That was different. Coming out as an athlete, but I always tell people I was a quarterback. Like, I thought I was pretty good at quarterback. I was athletic, but I did really like to throw the football. And my last year of high school is when we finally went to shotgun to say, okay, we know he can throw the ball. Let's do shotgun stuff. Right. And we never really got to dive into the real shotgun, but we did it. But going to Northwestern to play receiver was a completely different thing. It was a culture shock, honestly speaking.
Yeah.
Because ironically, I was actually committed to go to Southeastern Louisiana.
Okay.
And I was going to Hammond, Louisiana, and that's because they had an air raid system.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hal Mummy guys and Coach Rowland and those guys, they were all on that Hal Mummy system tree. And so I was going there. They told me to play quarterback and receiver. And over the time, they was like, they wanted me to do both. They liked me at both. They wanted me at receiver. And then as they kept watching film, they were like, we want you to play quarterback. But Northwestern came along and the Big Ten, and at 18, you telling that 18, I can make that transition and go to receiver and I'll be fine. All I have to do is have a good game against Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, Iowa. Just have a few good games and I'm going to the league.
You're going to the league, baby.
That's the thought. That's the thought process. Because in high school, I never thought about injuries because I never was hurt. I played 3 sports and I never missed a game. And so it was like, injuries don't faze me. But in the back of my mind, because of my parents, my dad was an academic guy.
Yeah.
But on contrary belief, he was huge on academics. He was actually mad at me because I turned down the official visit and the scholarship offer from the Citadel. That's where he wanted me to go, was the Citadel. Academically and what they can do for you after school, that's where you need to go. And I was like, I'm not taking my official visit. There's military. We're talking about I have to be in the room at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
My curfew. I don't even have a curfew now. Although I never stayed out past 11.
Yeah.
But in college, I'm like, I'm going to be awake in college. Till I realized during football season, you're still in the bed before practice in the a.m. I'm in the bed.
Yep.
But the transition to play receiver was a little different. I had a new receivers coach, so it was a little challenge at the time. We bumped heads a little bit. My up north people, they are fast paced. Down south guys, we're slow. We're methodical. We laid back, take our time. And he didn't understand that about me. I didn't understand that about him. He was just teaching receiver for the first time. And it was a clash. But then later, it became great. I thought he was really good. He taught me a lot. In a sense. But my freshman year, I learned some from 2 of my receivers. I had a incoming freshman with me. And then I had a sophomore guy who used to teach in the 5th year who actually took me under the wings, just show me the ropes, because I never played receiver. I thought it was like, oh, that's easy to learn. Receiver's easy. That's until I actually got out there and was like, no, the nuances of receiver is completely different. And then injury happened. So that part did take a toll on me, and it kind of affected me because I'd never been in a situation where I couldn't compete. I was always competing. If I wasn't good enough, I can work at it. But at this point, I knew I wasn't developed yet, and then I couldn't work on it because I physically just couldn't do anything. And so that was one of those challenges in college. But I soaked up a lot of knowledge and learned. So I thought that was the greatest experience for me.
What was the injury?
I had a crack in my pelvic bone.
Ooh.
How did I get that? I have no idea. I just know, I mean, I took a lot of hits in high school, so it could have happened in high school. I just never knew. But coming to Northwestern, going, and then obviously, you have some growing injuries because you're running so many routes during camp and everything. So you're like, oh, it's just the norm. Everybody having growing pains and stuff like that. But one moment I couldn't even put on my pants. I couldn't stand up and lift my leg up. I'm like, something wrong. Something ain't right. It's hurting to walk. and they diagnosed me with a crack in my pelvic bone. So my red shirt freshman year, where it's time to play special teams and go compete and have fun, I'm sidelined. I missed the whole season.
Dang.
Due to that injury. And so that was, I see all my boys, we coming in together, they're finally playing, and I'm hurt. This is terrible. I'm still trying to learn, but I can't work on my game.
Yeah.
It was that was one of the toughest times my sophomore year in college, my redshirt freshman year. And then going into my junior year, my redshirt sophomore year, it was like, okay, now I'm actually playing special teams and starting special teams. The stuff that would have happened the year before. So I'm behind a year.
Yeah.
And then going into my redshirt junior year, next thing you know, my redshirt sophomore year, even that year, 2 weeks before camp, I found out I got cartilage. I had a surgery. I had a meniscus tear.
Dang.
It was just a snowball effect that kept happening. But I still got on the field. I found a way to get on the field. And then redshirt junior year going in, it was my time. It was like, I'm a senior in school. This is my time. I'm running with the ones in camp. This is me. This is finally, I've improved enough. I've learned. And right during camp, we had a tour there. Never forget it. The first practice was blitz pick. It was like, first practice was a great day. The last practice was like a blitz pickup. So you had to read your hot routes. And I didn't call it at least 10 balls, just running drags and stuff because it's blitzes. I'm having a great day.
Yeah.
In college, when I learned when they know they trust you is when you're able to run a trick play. They trust you to run a reverse pass.
Yeah.
So like, okay, I've arrived. Next thing you know, I never felt this feeling in my life. And so when people say hamstring injury, I always shake up. That scares me because I pulled my hamstring.
On the trick play?
Yeah, I had already been feeling it.
Yeah.
But after the trick play and I didn't have nobody to throw it to, I was running and I was like, man, something ain't right. This one is actually pulling. And I was like, as a kid, like never pulling a hamstring. I'm like, I'll be fine though. I'm gonna be okay. Like I'll be back. And I went to the training room and they touched it and I screamed like, what the? And it's like, nah, this one. I thought a hamstring was probably be like a week or so. 4 weeks later.
Yeah.
4.5 weeks later doing rehab and the season had already started and I'm still working on a hamstring. So you go from, I'm a week and a half away from starting in my first game.
Yeah.
To 4 weeks down the road, we done played 4 games and I'm still trying to recover.
Dang, man.
And so it was one of those, it was like, gosh, this is a blow.
Yeah.
I've never experienced this in my life. What the heck? So you question if you like football, if you love it, why me? But it turned out to how I teach guys now, like the future, like it was great. It was a great experience for me because it's like, do you like Dion? Do you love it or do you like it?
Yeah.
And then what type of coach I want to be for these players. So now when I deal with kids, is I want to get them better so they all have that opportunity to go play. No matter what the situation may be, I want to get you to that ability to where you can go play.
Yeah. And that's hard, it's hard for especially a 21, 22-year-old kid to go through something like that, especially in their senior year when you keep getting setback after setback.
It is the mental aspect was something I never experienced. So now when I see people with injuries, I understand that feeling.
Yeah.
If you never had an injury, you won't know. You're like, they should toughen up the mental aspect. But people they fail to realize the mental aspect of what happens to you.
Yeah.
And so, but I was good. I had some great friends around me, so that helped out a lot.
Yeah, that's perfect. Let's take a 2-minute commercial break, and then we'll come back and talk a little RPO ball. Shout out to our friends at Chop Block on the Square in downtown Gainesville. Go visit them any night of the week. They are serving up the greatest beers in town, some of the greatest deals, and the greatest food that you'll ever put in your mouth. Trivia night is every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Join them in the Skybox upstairs for trivia night. Also on Thursday nights, you got karaoke with DJ Blaine from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. in the Skybox. Come out and play with them there. Then on Sunday nights, you have poker starting at 7 p.m. in the Skybox. $200 free roll Sunday extravaganza. Must be 21 to attend. Monday industry night karaoke with DJ Blaine from 9:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Go join them there at Chop Block and Skybox. And then they're having poker night Tuesday as well. Another $200 free roll, 7 p.m. until whenever you shut the place down, baby. Go visit our friends over at Chop Block. Visit them at chopblockgainesville.com. The law office of Leonard C. Parks Jr. is proud to be a sponsor of the Shave Heads Not Points podcast. Attorney Lee Parks is a Gainesville native and a graduate of UGA Law School. He's practiced criminal law in Hall County in Northeast Georgia for the past 36 years, both as a prosecutor with the DA's office and as the Gainesville Municipal Court solicitor, and for the past 22 years as a defense attorney, and handles everything from speeding tickets to death penalty murder cases. He's been named a Lawyer of Distinction in National Trial Lawyers Top 100 Criminal Defense Lawyers. His office is at 604 Green Street next to the Quinlan. If you need help with a criminal law matter, call Lee Parks at 770-503-9819 for an appointment. Happy holidays. All right. Hope this works the way I want it to. We'll see. We'll find out.
Yes, sir.
We had one viewer on YouTube Live, and then they got off. We're still at 0 views, but
It's okay.
that's all right. We're still recording. We'll put this up in a couple weeks when I upload this episode. I like to do them every Wednesday. Then you kind of get behind, then you start scattering days. But so let's talk. Well, before we talk RPO, after you left Northwestern, you went to Pitt for 2011 season as an academic GA. Then you went to Arizona State with Todd Graham, who was at Pitt with you, or you worked under at Pitt. You went to Arizona State with him for 6 months, helped him recruit. Then you went to Arizona that 2012 and 2013 season and coached under Rich Rod and did a GA stint under Rich Rod. Tell us, number one, what was it like to be a GA? Are the horror stories as bad as I always hear them? And two, what did you learn from one of the air raid guru, not originators, but under the original tree?
Started off at Pitt as an academic GA. The offensive coordinator, ironically, was Calvin McGee, who had been under Rich Rod. And the reason I had gravitated towards Calvin McGee and Rich Rod was because I actually watched that at that time in high school when they beat Georgia in that Sugar Bowl. It was like it was really impressive because I actually was following Georgia a lot because we used to work those concession stands. And so that offense with Pat White and Steve Slayton had me. I was like mind blown. This is crazy. And so to get the Pitt that have that guy there, it was interesting. But a fun fact about that whole situation at Pitt with Todd Graham, the co-offensive coordinator was Mike Norvell, who's now the head coach at Florida State.
That's right. Yeah, I knew the name. It was just disappearing me for a minute.
And so I was actually working under him as the academic GA, but I was still in the receiver room because he was the receivers coach at the time.
Perfect.
And so I worked under him, and I was with Calvin. And then the tight ends coach at the time was Michigan's receivers coach. He was Michigan's receivers coach, who's now the running backs coach at the Tennessee Titans. And so,
greatest running back in the NFL right now.
Yes. And so that experience is funny. That team, the Pitt team we had, because this is everybody's first year. We had a guy on the defensive line. You may or may not know him, Aaron Donald.
Yeah, he's kind of good. He's kind of good. He's okay.
So he was like a redshirt freshman there. So the talent those guys had and the team that we had, it was an interesting go. But the GA stories for me, I was an academic GA, so I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was in charge of checking classes.
Uh-huh.
I got to deal with. I never really got to experience the full football per se, sitting in meetings all day watching the film.
Yeah.
I had to leave practice because we practiced in the mornings, and then I had to go check classes. So I was on campus all day checking classes, and then I would come back that night and go catch up on a little bit of the film. Well, the next year we went to Arizona State. Ty Graham ended up resigning and leaving, got a job at Arizona State. And so I went there. It's funny, Paul Chris came and got the job at Pitt. He told me I could stay and continue to do what I was doing, and he'll evaluate later. But it started snowing that week he got there.
And you were like, nope, I'm out of here.
And I told myself, I just left Chicago in the snow. I've never been to Arizona, but I'm going to take a chance and go out there because it was familiarity. These guys already hired me. So I went out there to be a quality control guy. So it's pretty much what they call an analyst now.
Yeah.
As an analyst. And so I went out there, and Mike Norvell ended up being the offense coordinator. And so then I was working under a guy named Dale McGee. Or not Dale McGee, but Dale Alexander, he's now the receivers coach at Notre Dame. And he was good, man. He was really good. And for the short stint that I was there, I was also, as the academic GA, I was also Taj Graham GA. So whatever he needed, I had to do. So it was the funny story about Pitt, like a horror story for me. It was, I was in charge of taking Taj Graham, like I was in charge of taking his bag and get it to the stadium before they got there. His bag needed to be at the stadium. He was one of those guys that needed to be at the stadium right before he get there on game day. Well, he never had his bag ready before he got on the bus. Well, we had to go to PNC. We had to go at Heinz Field, which was off campus in the middle of, the football stadium's always in the city.
Yeah.
So it's in the middle of Pittsburgh, downtown Pittsburgh. You had to get to Heinz Field. Well, the bus has police escorts. I'm going to get his bag right before he gets on the bus, and I have to go get to the stadium before he gets there.
And they have a police escort, and you don't.
And I don't. And I got to figure out back roads, and I'm new. I've never driven to this stadium. Got to use the GPS. And so the first time I was lost, hit traffic, and they're calling me, where's his bag, this and this. And I'm just
like, bullets, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be living in a box down by the river tomorrow morning.
Already about to get fired on my first game.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding? But that's when I learned real quick. They don't care about any other thing. You just get the job done. I don't need to know what happened and all this. You just got to get it done.
Yeah.
And so then I got to Arizona State, and then I ended up becoming his GA again. But I got a phone call from Arizona. It's funny. I got a phone call from Arizona because the ironic part about that, 3 guys on the staff at Arizona State, at Pitt. Actually, Rich Rod got the job at Arizona when Ty Graham got the job at Arizona State. And so 3 guys on the staff at Pitt went to Arizona because they were Rich Rod guys.
Yeah.
And offensive coordinator, I expressed my interest of working with him before. And so him and the receivers coach at the time, who's the guy I was telling you at Tennessee Titans, they both thought it would be a good idea for me to come there. And that's when I went to go meet Rich Rod and those guys. And like you said, and then figured out the RPO game. And I got to be firsthand. I saw a little bit of it at Pitt because the offensive coordinator was putting it in there, and Calvin McGee. But when I got the Rich Rod and Calvin McGee, and they got together and really watching it develop, and it was like, man, this is so simple and effective. And if you want to play fast, you don't have to be so intricate. It's just make it simple, and you can be effective with it. And I thought those 2 years were great experience. I mean, in 2 years with Rich Rod in his first 2 years at Arizona, we beat Oregon when they had Marcus Mariota, DeAndre Thomas, and those guys.
Yeah.
21. We beat USC, and they had Matt Barkley and Robert Woods, Marquise Lee, and some talented guys. And we beat those guys. And I told somebody, it's funny, ironically, a few weeks ago, I was talking about Washington and how good Steve Sarkisian is at offense coordinator. He's an offensive guru.
Yeah.
Well, they had two corners at Washington, and Marcus Peters and Marcus Trufant, both fourth-round draft pick corners, and we beat those guys. And so that effectiveness of that offense and that RPO just shows, like, if you have the right guys and the right coaching to do it, it's an effective offense that can cause problems.
Yeah. And, and that brings us to our next point. You go to Georgia Military in 2014 after 2 years with Rich Rod at Arizona. You go to Georgia Military Academy, the college part, as a junior college coach for 4 years. But let's move through that. What makes for an effective RPO quarterback? You and I were talking before we started. That kid from Warner Robins last night just lit it up. I think he accounted for 5 out of their 9 touchdowns or something like that, maybe 6. And he just ran that offense to perfection last night.
He was the epitome of what you want in an RPO quarterback. My personal favorite, if I was molding an RPO quarterback, I don't need a guy that's extremely fast, but I need a guy that's fast enough that can get me 10, 15 yards. They can break away and get me 10 to 15 yards. They don't have to be able to break it for 70. Yeah. But if they have that ability, that's great. But I prefer a thrower more than a runner. So I would like my thrower to be able to get me a good 15, 20 yards. And it's like, okay, I know he ain't going to break it, but he can get me that. I think that's when you're the most effective, is because people, when they say the RPO, I like the running quarterbacks because they're the ones that get you 60, but a lot of times they're the ones that struggle to throw the football.
Exactly. Because they're so worried about their speed, they don't spend as much time on their throwing mechanics and reads.
They don't spend time on it. And the guys that can really throw, I thought the funny thing is when I was at Arizona, we had the different quarterbacks. The first year we had a guy that can throw it, but he can get you 15 to 20 yards running. The next year we had a quarterback who can run it, but throwing was okay. He could do enough. We were effective, but not like we were our first year. I thought if we had that quarterback come back, if the guy, unfortunately, he was a senior just learning that new system, if he had one more year, it would have been amazing, just because when you can throw the football, you just put so much pressure on the defense when you can throw it and run it.
Yeah.
Like throwing being like your main suit, but running competent enough to where I can break through this thing and get 15, 20 yards. And it makes the RPO system so effective.
Yeah. And that's, I think my answer would probably be exactly what you were saying. I love watching Lamar Jackson make plays and stuff like that. And he's very lucky that he's one of the few that he can run and he can throw and make accurate throws. A lot of those kids that have that kind of speed, though, as kids, the ones that we coach, they have that speed, but they don't have that accuracy, or they don't have the arm strength. One of the two, like something's got to give, right? Or either they have a great arm or they run a 5.1 40 and they start running and it's like a train trying to get moving and it's just slow motion, right?
Yes.
So if you're trying to run an RPO system, and this is for high school coaches, middle school coaches, whatever, if you're looking for that guy, number one, find your best athlete on the field. If you're trying to find a quarterback, find your best athlete on the field and see if they can throw it.
That's it.
And number two, if they can throw it, see if they can make simple reads like reading the defensive end or reading a backer and make the right read in repetition. And if they can do that and you're trying to run an RPO system, then you found your guy. If you don't, well, then you go to a plan B, whether it's, like you had to do, go to I formation your first year.
Yes. It's funny. My first year when I took the job, I had an extreme athlete. He was really good. he was telling me he could throw, and I said, "Here, throw a ball." And he backed up and did something crazy, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he can't throw." Well, that was just me preconceived because I didn't get to work with him over the summer. He was a summer school kid, so he never got to participate the way we do it here. If you go to summer school, you can't participate in workouts. And so I never got to work with him over the summer. I had him go do conditioning and stuff. And so he ended up, after like the second game of the year, he ended up being my quarterback. And so I could put someone, I started doing some of the RPO. The issue was I didn't have the receivers to do it. He can keep the ball and do his own reason, can run. His throw mechanics was just okay, but it was like if I had the summer to continue to work with him on throwing, it's more feasible to give me that threat. But like you said, the biggest thing you said was having your RPO system, find your best athlete, see if they can throw. And if they can throw, you make it simple. And it was certain ways when I talk about the RPO it's all inside zone. Now is how do you want to block the inside zone? Do you want to be the generic and read the defense end? Because a lot of times when you're in your zone read, you're reading defense end. Or when you have that throwing guy, you read the linebacker. So you cut off the end and then you read the linebacker.
Right.
Now if the linebacker is getting out there, now you know you got your end cut off, so now you can run your zone effectively. And I think when you have the throwing quarterbacks, that's when you start getting into, all right, I'm reading that backer.
Yeah.
And you're running quarterbacks, the way people start playing it defensive wise and everything, sometimes you have to go into that. They have their end come up field on purpose, so they force you to give it. And so that's where you come into also reading that backer and stuff as well. And that's some of the things we did a lot at Arizona. It was so you run a zone and people are confused because it's like, man, they read the end on this one. We're cutting the end off. Now we're reading the linebacker. How do you do it? And when it goes to personnel wise, that's what I love about the RPO. You can do it out of so many personnels, but my favorite personnel, I like 11 personnel or 20 personnel, the two back. 4 wide is good. You can do 4 wide. Because in 4 wide, it's more of you spreading the field out to, if you do have that running guy, a quarterback that can actually run it puts so much pressure on the defense when you spread the field out with your athletes, because they have to get out there.
Yeah.
And now that combination of reading that end, it becomes deadly when that quarterback keeps it in. He's running. Now the linebacker coming up. Now you got an open guy to run your passing concepts. I'm more of a quick game concept guy when it comes to RPO.
And that's what I was getting ready to say is, you know, when we were talking about using 11 personnel and I was figuring what I like in my head, I was thinking the same thing. Not necessarily, you know, going 4 wide every time and you know, reading it and then chucking the deep ball, because to me that's basically just a wasted play or a wasted run. You know, if it's 2nd 3 and you call inside zone and then you try to chuck it down the field, well, crap. Now you've, you know, basically wasted a play. You could have just handed it off and hope he could have broken one. But you know, if you're reading that and then you're going to throw a Y stick, or you're going to throw an outs right there, or you're going to throw a slants right there across the middle, something like that for a higher percentage completion, it's easier than, all right, well, I'm just going to throw the MOR on this.
Definitely. And that's one of the biggest things. I love the slant bubble.
Yep.
The slant bubble to me is one of those, the only way, in my personal opinion, for the defensive guys to give them a cheat sheet. But if you got the guys, you got to play man to stop an RPO. Your zone cannot stop the RPO. If they do it efficiently, you can't stop it. Especially when we looked at last night, when we talked about that high school state championship game and you watched Warren Robbins, you couldn't stop the quarterback. He made every play. They ran the ball effectively, then he'll pull it. Then he'll pull it to throw it. And it was just like, what are you supposed to do here?
Yeah.
It's nothing you can do. And when I was at Arizona, that's the one thing I learned. If somebody had really good athletes and manned us up, it made it difficult. But the bubble, if you got a really good bubble guy and a slant guy,
yeah,
you RPO somebody down the field running that same play because you got so many different. You got 4 options.
Mm-hmm.
You literally can hand it off. Your quarterback can run it. He can throw the slant or he can throw the bubble.
Exactly.
And watching Oregon studying their tape when we played against them, and you see Mariota and the things that they've done, and it was that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody like, they so fast. It was like, no, they just running the same play over and over. And this option, they threw it to this one. This option, they threw it. Oh, they handed the ball off. Oh, Mariota kept it. And before you know it, in the end zone, you're like 4 plays in the end zone.
Yeah.
And they did all four progressions. And it's just like, how do you stop that?
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing for me in offense is like eventually my quarterback now, he's a thrower. He's not, I'm got to work on his speed because if I can get his speed down to where he can get those 10 to 15 yards and have confidence, he's an accurate thrower. He can really throw the football. Yeah. The RPO game will intensify us. It'll amplify our offense a lot more to give us more because there's been explosion plays. Like when you go RPO, you start getting no explosive plays.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you run the RPO if your line, sometimes you need it for your line. If your line is not great at blocking, it helps your athletes get in space. But last night, you see when you have a good line, like Warner Robins had a really freaking good line, it's nothing you can really do about it. I mean, the nemesis for Alabama is an RPO team.
It really is.
When you watch them in Ole Miss and those boys beat them all the time, it was the RPO guys, the quarterbacks that can run. They run some RPO stuff, and it gives them fits.
Yep, and especially Nick Saban. He loves to have his little fits in his press conferences.
No question. And that RPO stuff, and when that's the staple I look at it. When you look at Clemson and everybody talk about Ohio State and their style of offense, they do a little bit of RPO type stuff to get those Trevor Lawrence to read that thing. He keep it. I mean, obviously, everybody will say they want a Trevor Lawrence type quarterback. That's just one of those special.
Who wouldn't?
That's a special type kid.
Yeah. So when we get back after this 2-minute commercial break, let's have you give us your favorite RPO plays that you've gotten from Rich Rod or that you've come up with on your own or anything else like that. Sound good?
Perfect.
All right, we'll see you in 2 minutes. Shout out to our friends at Chop Block on the Square in downtown Gainesville. Go visit them any night of the week. They are serving up the greatest beers in town, some of the greatest deals, and the greatest food that you'll ever put in your mouth. Trivia night is every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Join them in the Skybox upstairs for trivia night. Also on Thursday nights, you got karaoke with DJ Blaine from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. in the Skybox. Come out and play with them there. Then on Sunday nights, you have poker starting at 7 p.m. in the Skybox. $200 free roll Sunday extravaganza. Must be 21 to attend. Monday industry night karaoke with DJ Blaine from 9:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Go join them there at Chop Block and Skybox. And then they're having poker night Tuesday as well. Another $200 free roll, 7 p.m. until whenever you shut the place down, baby. Go visit our friends over at Chop Block. Visit them at chopblockgainesville.com. The law office of Leonard C. Parks Jr. is proud to be a sponsor of the Shave Heads Not Points podcast. Attorney Lee Parks is a Gainesville native and a graduate of UGA Law School. He's practiced criminal law in Hall County in Northeast Georgia for the past 36 years, both as a prosecutor with the DA's office and as the Gainesville Municipal Court Solicitor, and for the past 22 years as a defense attorney, and handles everything from speeding tickets to death penalty murder cases. He's been named a Lawyer of Distinction in National Trial Lawyers Top 100 Criminal Defense Lawyers. His office is at 604 Green Street next to the Quinlan. If you need help with a criminal law matter, call Lee Parks at 770-503-9819 for an appointment. Happy holidays. Had to get the kids something to eat. So what were your favorite RPOs that you've gotten through the years or whatever?
So one of my favorites was out of the 20 personnel.
Okay.
In the split zone. And so basically when we run in the split zone, I drew up a little something right here.
Okay.
But just giving you an idea.
Yep.
And so that's me. I'm the quarterback now is in charge of reading the backer.
Okay.
And so when I got my little fullback right here, my fullback gonna come in and cut the end. He's gonna cut the end off.
Right.
And so when the fullback comes and cut the end, so now everybody takes just a zone step, your typical zone steps or whatever. But now we're reading the backer what he's going to do. If he comes in because we've been having success running, now my quarterback gonna pull it and throw it out here. But now quarterback, if the guy, even though we're cutting him off, but if the end still dives down, quarterback will pull it and run. And now this guy, we got to make a decision. He's gonna come here, he's gonna come here. And a lot of times what will happen is you will have this corner, they'll start cheating.
Yeah.
They'll start cheating, or if it depends, especially if it's cover 3 and you have a guy come out here and they vacate this area and the safety's out of the way, this slant is really wide open. That's one of my favorites, just because, like you said, when you're talking about a third down situation or 3rd and 3 or something like that, you just put so much pressure on the defense being quick games. Like, you don't want many deep things. But a second down play, my next one is a 3-by-1.
Okay.
And it's a little stutter and a go, but you still got the bubble because you can take somebody out of the picture. And this one is the quarterback now is reading that in, because now we're going to just take our regular zone steps and go here. And now, but when you talk about the zone read, when you run the zone read in the RPO, your blocking scheme changes a little bit when you tag that pass play with it. Now your guys up front are knowing I can't go down the field. So we're stepping, but it's almost like a play action step, meaning now we can't go downfield because of the development.
Yeah.
And this right here, I don't know if I can share my screen potentially. Let's see if I can share my screen.
Should be able to.
I may have this. I think I got this play up somewhere.
Okay. Now, while you're picking that up, do you when you're reading that, after they read that end, how are they reading those 3 routes? Are they reading the flat defender? Are they reading the safety?
Reading the flat defender and the safety. Really and truly, you're gonna be. Can you see? Let's see if you can.
No, not yet. Let's see. Should be able to, but
has it came up?
Let's see. No.
Let's see.
I'm trying to see if it. I don't see any settings thing about this thing either.
Let's see. Can you see that?
Ah, there it is. Hold on. Add to stream. There we go. Okay.
All right. I had a play up that I wanted to show right here. Actually, we'll start it from here. So that go to the 3-by-1 I was talking about.
Okay.
And see, they in the cover 3. I got my bubble, because now what happens is you're going to read this guy. Is this guy going to get over? Will he get over in time? What is he going to read? Is he going to stay here so you got the bubble, or will he come off for the bubble? And so now when you notice, Boom. You see how he is moving his land.
Yep. Now you got that perfect little window to throw that
You
thing
got
into.
the perfect little window. Boom. And it's
like catching the ball. That's a large human.
Oh yes, that was one of our guys in Austin Hill. Austin Hill was a terrific guy. Like he was really freaking good.
Yeah, he's huge and he's fast.
And so, but that's just one of those. And these are a few other RPO plays where you got zones in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out, boom. But you got your 11 personnel. You got your guy cutting off the end.
There's your split zone right there.
There's you got your split zone. But even in this one, because some of them is all about just your typical offense.
Uh-huh.
But you tag your routes along with it.
And that's what I was wondering, because the bubble slant is commonly known as a stab concept. So if you're running Zorro or Zulu, which has been named for years as your typical zone read, RPO, read the end, right?
Yes.
So you can tag any kind of concept on the end of that. So most people, they'll have a bubble and an RPO. They'll have a bubble by the number 2 receiver and an MRO or a mandatory outside release by the number 1 receiver.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was the play we were talking about earlier where, you might read that as the quarterback and say, ooh, I like this. And it's 2nd and 3, and you just chunked it down the field for a huge incompletion when you could have handed it off, or you could have tagged Zorro or Zulu stab, where you have a bubble and a slant instead of that mandatory outside release and chunking it downfield. So you can ride it, read that in, the end crashes on the back, fine. All right, I'm going to pull it. I'm going to keep my arm back like I'm going to throw it. I'm going to run towards the line of scrimmage in case I want to tuck it. But if that backer bites down on me, then guess what I'm going to do? I'm just going to dunk it over his head and pray to God that the safety's still back there if it's one high, right?
Yeah.
All right. Pray the safety's not coming down like Cam Chancellor.
Hey, that's what
right over his head.
That's what you hope. Like you
Yeah.
don't want them doing the whole. That's the one you don't want.
Yeah.
If they doing that one, then you're like, oh boy.
Yeah. You just better make a play with your feet and beat somebody in the open field. Don't dump it over that linebacker's head just because you see that that's open if you're going to get your receiver decapitated. But if you can see that and get your eyes on that safety and you see the safety coming down, you better just beat the linebacker with your feet.
And the beautiful thing about the RPOs, like it got to a point where we made it so simple, and that's what I want to get to with my offense now.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing about high school. What I've learned in my 2nd year as a coach is you got to go run a system that works best for your personnel.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, my personnel at the time, just my quarterback situation, it doesn't really allow for the RPO.
Uh-huh.
But he's going to be a really good quarterback, and it's okay. I got a throwing guy. At Northwestern, we wasn't really RPO. We was a no huddle, spread you out, do that. So I know that system. I'm good with that. Mm-hmm. But eventually, if you can spread it out and then have the RPO game in there, it makes it just so much easier.
Yeah.
And now with those, like you said, it's all about the initial RPO, the initial inside zone. What we did, every time you run inside zone, opposite always has a bubble.
Mm-hmm.
You always got to block. You're blocking for bubble. So now pre-snap, if you walk out there and the guy's uncovered, the quarterback always have free game to throw that bubble, no matter what.
Yep.
If they're throw it right now. Put pressure on. And you want me to tell you the biggest one I've seen do that a lot, and I'm dating it back to the 2007, 2008 Florida Gators.
Yep.
When they had Percy Harvin, they threw the bubble like forever. They threw it you couldn't stop Percy Harvin. He just catch the bubble, and and it's a glorified run play.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got a dynamic athlete that can spread the field Now you got to spread the defense out. Now it opens up your hole for running the ball. And so I never forget that. I watched the national championship game. People are like, how do you remember this? I watched because I was playing in the Big Ten, and Ohio State went 2 years in a row.
Yep.
The first year, LSU dismantled them, and then the next year it was Florida. And when I watched Florida, I watched Ohio State went cover 3 the whole time. And they never had a guy, and Florida just threw it to Percy Harvin, and he can catch him 10, 15 yards a pop every time on the bubble. Just the bubble. Just the bubble. And then when you adjust to it, they hand the ball off.
Yeah.
and it's like, how do I stop this? But the reason I like 11 personnel, because now when you get 11 personnel, you can go trips.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the tight end on the same side with the 2 receivers out here.
Yep.
And now one of the biggest plays I've seen Michigan do when they used to run it, we had Denard Robinson. They actually used to go 3-by-1 and run the RPO. And they used to have Roy Roundtree run straight down the pipe because everybody
receiver.
Yeah. He was a little small receiver, and he just ran straight down the middle because everybody was so focused on Denard Robinson. And so you run that fake right there, and everybody coming in, crashing down. He just run right like that play at Arizona I just showed. Number 2 receiver just running, streaking. And if you got that's the easy play. But that bubble, you got to respect the bubble.
Yep.
If you don't respect the bubble, we throw the bubble. If you come down on the bubble, okay, that's why I said the only way I think that you can defend it is if you go man. But if you got a quarterback who can read the thing, and if you got really good receivers, then it really don't matter what you run. If they in man or not, if receivers can get open, that slant going to be open when people running man.
Yeah.
That's what really and truly when it boils down to. If you got the receivers, and that's what we saw last night in the high school game. That's why I was so intrigued by Warner Robins. They had receivers that got open, and the quarterback put the ball. Like, it was impressive.
No doubt. I mean, he was putting the ball wherever he wanted to. He was running wherever he wanted to. They had number 2 and 25. Their 2 running backs were doing whatever they wanted to.
And it puts pressure when your running game is established in the RPO. It just opens up everything else. When your running backs are killing you because now defense like we got to stop the run. Then the quarterback pulls it, and you're like, okay, we got to stop him. Then he's throwing it, and it's just like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do now.
Yeah,
like I don't know what to do. And when you watch most RPOs, it's like, in my opinion, the most effective ones, like we talked about, has been the quick game.
Mm-hmm.
The quick game, and some of them can be hitches. If guys are playing so far off, you throw the hitch. It's just the deceiving thing. You want the simple throws for your quarterback. You want your quarterback to, because a lot of them you're going to be throwing on the run. Yeah. The reason I love the bubble is because after the guy pulls it and he runs on out there, 2-on-1. It's like a basketball drill. We're in the 2-on-1. What this guy gonna do? Is he gonna come take you? You throw the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
It's a glorified triple option, except it's throwing the ball now.
Yep, it's exactly what it is. Because option 1, hand it off. Option 2, run it. Option 3, pass it.
That's it. And
option 3 used to be pitch it. So
option 3 was pitch it, and now you put your athletes in space. That's the reason why I love this one, because now you put your athletes in space. And it's so funny because now when you got your RPO system, is how do you want to run? Do you want to go up tempo? Do you want to keep the tempo going?
Right.
Or do you want to slow it down? But the most effective is, all right, we got to keep this tempo because now you don't give defenses time to adjust.
Right.
Now they're off balance, especially at the high school, middle school level. Even you see it at the college level when teams start to go fast, you start to get the defensive guys and these kids. They can't think that fast when they're on defense. When something goes wrong, how do I adjust? There's no adjustment that you can make. So when you do run it effectively, the biggest thing I tell guys, if you are running the RPO, keep it simple.
Yep.
You don't have to have all this terminology. Just have a base. If I'm running inside zone, like I said, the thing we did at Arizona, the best thing was the backside always got a bubble.
Yeah.
Bubble. If I want him to run something different, I will tag it.
Yep. And what was crazy, I was watching the I went to the ESPN app last night because I like to watch, especially these bowl games when I know that I can watch that sky cam from my offense. I have no commentators, right? The microphone is right above the quarterbacks. And I would just, Oklahoma was going fast, just tearing Florida up. And I was thinking, how in the world can Lincoln Riley think of his next play so fast? I mean, I watched one time, his name was Bridges. They said he was suspended for the whole season, got to play for the Big 12 championship, and he was back. And he literally, I swear, I don't think he looked at the sideline. He lined up on the right, caught the ball. Next play, he lined up on the left. And I swear he didn't look at the sideline. So I'm like, how does this kid know where to line up? And how does he know what the play is? Because he wasn't looking at the sideline. He looked at the ref to make sure he was off the line. And then they ran and I'm like, wait a minute. How? Okay, I get it. Reps. Yeah, but how did you get those reps? It was ridiculously fast. And so one time I heard Spencer Rattler say, hold on a sec. I heard Spencer Rattler say, zone right. He was just telling the offensive line what to block, and it didn't matter. Of course it didn't matter, but they were just going to destroy Florida. But he was just telling them, instead of them looking for an offensive line sign or something like that, he was just like, hey, zone right. And he would just tell the Florida defense what they were going to block up front. And that was it. So it was very dangerous.
It is the simplicity. And that's the one thing I can say what I was learning from the Rich Rods and the Calvin McGee's as offensive coordinator. It was just how simple they were. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget when I was in the box, or matter of fact, I was on the field, but having your headsets on, you get to listen to everything. And we were playing Oregon at our place when we beat them by 21. And just the offensive mind that Calvin McGee had of calling the game. Yeah. And like how you was talking, how do they know what to run so fast? Well, you got your built-in plays, mm-hmm. and you got your built-in, like he might come into a game plan. And this week we have three different hot tempo calls. So now one of our tempo calls is going to be this play. We're just going to scream it out. Boom, 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 this right here. And that's what we're going to run right here. That's a tempo. This one right here is the other tempo. This one right here is the other tempo to keep it going. And we'll call those three different things. But out of those three different plays, there's now 9 different options.
Yeah.
And so It's so simple that you don't even have to look. Boom. They'll glance. As soon as they finish the play, they'll glance and see us doing this. Uh-huh. And it's like, okay, I'm getting lined up and you're running something completely different. And it was so simple. And like you said, it's as simple as saying, all right, zone right.
Yeah.
Zone right. But in zone right, I already knew in zone right, my backside, I got a bubble. Mm-hmm. Or might have called this hot call name or whatever. All right, now I know I got a slant bubble.
Yeah.
Right, now I know I got double. And we're just going. And the defense has no idea because it's ingrained. We've practiced it, and it's so dangerous and deadly.
It really is.
And it's like you said, like with Lincoln Riley, and you see those guys, and especially with a freshman quarterback. You have a lot of smart quarterbacks with a freshman quarterback. Guess what you're doing as a coach? Especially from what he's coming from. He's coming from 3 different quarterbacks who are high level. Mm-hmm. You went from Baker Mayfield to going into Kyler Murray. Then you had Jalen Hurts, and now you got a real true freshman.
Yeah.
So you have guys that really know the game until you come with a true freshman. So to be so effective and successful with this freshman who's high level, but you dumb it down to make it even more efficient. And you can see how he did that as the season progressed. Everybody thought the quarterback was, he's struggling. Well, he's a freshman. Yeah. All right, let's dumb it down. Let me get back to, go back to the basics. And I think for the high school level, middle school level, what a lot of coaches fail to realize is sometimes you just got to go back to the basics and teach, because a lot of these kids don't know the basics. And when you learn the basics and teach the basics, you're good.
Yeah. Under the bathroom sink. Sorry, wife's home. So, well, I think, and unless you got anything else, I think that'll about wrap it up for us. But definitely go follow Coach Coleman on Twitter. It's at Coach_Lee02. Go check him out. Go give him a follow. And Coach, I appreciate you coming on for us today.
Appreciate you having me.
All right, man. I'll holler at you next time.
Yes, sir.
How do you stop this thing?